Authorities in the United States have detained more than 150 people during protests against President Donald Trump's migration policies. In Venezuela, candidates began to register for the municipal elections to be held on July 27, 2025. And a humanitarian convoy named Maghreb's Resolve departed from Tunisia with thousands of volunteers to demand an end to the genocide and for humanitarian aid to be allowed into the entire Gaza Strip. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Authorities in the United States have detained more than 150 people during protests against President Donald Trump's migration policies. On the third consecutive day of protest in downtown Los Angeles, demonstrators confronted Trump's order to deploy 2,000 National Guard soldiers. Protesters rejected the ban on foreigners from 12 countries and demanded the release of service employees, International Union California leader David Huerta. In this context, U.S. President Donald Trump asserted that protests only strengthened his determination to continue deporting illegal migrants. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum demanded that the United States respect the human rights of migrants after violent incidents in that country. The Mexican leader condemned the violence that occurred after immigration raids carried out over the weekend in Los Angeles, California, and expressed her support for the Mexican community in the United States. Furthermore, Sheinbaum rejected violent acts from protesters, calling on the Mexican community to act peacefully and not fall for provocations. In this context, the Mexican head of state urged the U.S. authorities for all immigration procedures to be carried out with respect for human dignity and the process.
Gobierno de México reitera su compromiso inquebrantable.
The Mexican government reiterates its unwavering commitment to the protection and defense of the human rights of Mexicans living overseas, regardless of their immigration status. In this sense, we make a respectful but firm call to United States authorities for all immigration procedures to be carried out in adherence to due process within a framework of dignity and the rule of law.
En un marco de respeto a la dignidad humana y al Estado.
Mexican authorities declared high alert on the southwest of the Mexican Pacific as a result of Depression 3E turned Sunday into Tropical Storm Cosme. The National Meteorological System informed that Cosme is located around 935 kilometers southwest of Perula Beach in Jalisco and 75 kilometers south of the San Lucas Cape, Baja California. Experts forecasted that the precipitation associated with the phenomenon would generate landslides, heavy rainfalls, growing river flows, and flooding in low-lying areas. Therefore, authorities urge the population to be alert to possible changes triggered by the storm and to follow the indications of civil protection. The Permanent Contingency Commission of Honduras, COPECO, reported Sunday the arrival of tropical wave to the country, which will significantly affect weather conditions in the Central American region. COPECO forecasted that heavy rains caused cloudiness and scattered thunderstorms were likely to occur in the upcoming hours. The most heat areas will be the southwest, southeast, center and north of the country. In view of this scenario, authorities called on the population to follow official recommendations, avoid crossing rivers or flooded streams, have a family emergency plan, and maintain constant communication with the competent authorities in case of any incidents. The Oceans Summit has started in Nice, southeastern France, a historic meeting that seeks the promulgation of the High Seas Treaty approved in 2023. Numerous world leaders have confirmed their attendance this Monday as 115 countries are meeting to discuss such pressing issues as global warming, pollution, and the destruction of biodiversity, as well as the opportunities for recovery. Several countries are expected to announce, among other vital issues, the creation of new marine conservation zones within their national waters. However, the focus of the day is the enactment of the High Seas Treaty, a legally binding instrument for the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction.
Portando no multilateralismo, fomos capazes de dirimir.
By embracing multilateralism, we were able to resolve differences that once seemed insurmountable. Now we are seeing hanging over the ocean the threat of unilateral.
Que ocorra com o mar, o que aconteceu no comércio internacional, cujas regras foram erodidas.
We cannot allow what happened to international trade where rules were eroded to the point of rendering the WTO operative to happen to the sea. Preventing the oceans from becoming a stage for geopolitical disputes is an urgent task in building peace. Channels, straits should bring us closer together, not be a cause for discord.
Devem nos aproximar e não ser motivo.
And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Venezuela, candidates began to register for the municipal elections to be held on July 27, 2025. The National Electoral Council published Sunday the electoral timetable. Candidates will be able to submit their applications starting this Monday, June 9th. Electoral authorities emphasized that the process includes the option of self-nomination and the formation of voter groups. In this regard, the electoral body stated that interested parties should go to the National Office of Political Participation, located at the headquarters in Caracas Square, or the regional electoral offices. Diplomat Wu Hancheng, a member of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China and Minister of the Department of Social Work, arrived Monday in Venezuela as part of an official visit aimed at strengthening political ties with the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, PSUV. The Chinese leader was received by Vice President of International Relations of the PSUV, Rander Peña, who was representing President Nicolás Maduro, and the Secretary General of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, Diosdado Cabello. Chinese officials' visit is focused on consolidating the all-weather strategic partnership signed by both governments in 2023. Currently, Venezuela and China have implemented over 600 cooperation deals in key sectors such as energy, technology, infrastructure, and social development. The Colombian government ordered increased security for the country's political leaders following the assassination attempt on presidential pre-candidate Miguel Uribe. President Gustavo Petro held a meeting with the country's police officials to discuss new measures to guarantee the safety of the opposition. On Monday, high-level meetings are expected to continue to define security strategies for all political actors in the country amid investigations to identify the perpetrators of the attack against Miguel Uribe. The Colombian president will also hold a meeting with the Electoral Guarantees Commission, members of the government, and various political parties in a call to establish a peace plan. Also in Colombia, the Attorney General's office will charge a 14-year-old teenager with the attempted murder and illegal possession of firearms after shooting presidential pre-candidate Miguel Uribe. The arrest was legalized by a judge, and the case is moving forward under the juvenile criminal responsibility system. Although he cannot be sent to a regular prison, he could face up to 8 years of imprisonment in a specialized care center. At the same time, the investigation continues with raids on family members' homes and review of videos of the political rally the attack occurred. Authorities are seeking to establish the involvement of others as well as the motives behind the incident. Meantime, health authorities reported that the political leader remains in critical condition. According to the report, Uribe has responded poorly to medical interventions and treatments. However, doctors emphasize that they will not cease the effort necessary to ensure his recovery. At this time, the prognosis for Miguel Uribe's health remains unclear, and his condition is extremely serious. In other news, on Monday, Brazil's Supreme Federal Court begins questioning key figures in an attempted coup, including former President Jair Bolsonaro and 7 other members of his government. The hearings are to be held in person at the court's headquarters in Brasilia, except for that of General Walter Braga Neto, whom he will appear via video conference owing to his pre-trial detention. The first to be questioned will be Mauro Cid, a key figure in the investigation, after providing documents and testimony that directly implicate former President Bolsonaro. The defendants have the constitutional right to testify or remain silent. Once the proceeding concludes, the judge will prepare a detailed report on the cause and issue a ruling. In Lima, Peruvian police caught former President Pedro Pablo Kuczynski at the Jorge Chávez International Airport while he was trying to flee to the United States. In this context, the former head of state is being investigated for alleged money laundering in the Odebrecht case. The attempted getaway occurred a few hours earlier key judicial hearing started, where they would assess the prosecutor's request to impose him a new impediment to leave the country. The public prosecutor's office argued that he might run away due to the previous judicial restrictions expired. Meanwhile, Kuczynski's lawyer justified that the trip was for personal and health reasons, specifically to visit his wife, whom he had not seen for 7 years, and to undergo medical examinations.
Otros 3 expresidentes peruanos están procesados por el caso Odebrecht.
Now we have a second show break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the most recent events. On a show break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Israeli troops killed at least 12 people and wounded others in shootings near 2 aid distribution points in Rafah, southern Gaza Strip. A statement issued by the Gaza's health authorities on Sunday also reported that at least 41 Palestinians had been killed in the Israeli military operation since early morning of that day. Munir al-Bursh, Director General of the health authorities in Gaza, said on Sunday that the healthcare system is on the brink of collapse, overwhelmed by Israel's continued military strikes and blockade. Since the escalation of the Israeli aggression of October 7, 2023, approximately 54,088 Palestinians have been killed by Israel.
They opened aid sites for people, and then they killed them there. We don't want aid, we don't want anything, we'd rather be killed, and done with this whole thing. We are fed up with this life. Yesterday, we buried 4 martyrs and another one today for a piece of bread, nothing more. He was not there to resist, or to launch missiles, he went to get flour.
Every time there's a food distribution channel open, people present with gunshot wounds, mainly to the head and neck. Yesterday, food aid distribution was open. I myself was in attendance when 7 cases of direct headshots from food aid distribution presented, 6 of whom were intubated, 3 of whom were children.
A humanitarian convoy named Maghreb's Resolve departed from Tunisia with thousands of volunteers to demand an end to the genocide and for humanitarian aid to be allowed into the entire Gaza Strip. This Monday, the caravans set off the Palestinian enclave to try to break the blockade. They will cross Libya and Egypt on their way to the Rafah border crossing to deliver humanitarian aid. Over 7,000 volunteers from Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Mauritania and Egypt take part in this humanitarian action. The initiative also supports the Freedom Flotilla seized by Zionist forces. The International Committee to Break the Siege of the Gaza Strip called for more help, and about 30 countries in Europe, South America and Southeast Asia will answer the call. The Israeli occupation navy boarded the ship Madeleine and kidnapped its crew and activists carrying humanitarian aid to Gaza. The boat, launched by the Freedom Flotilla coalition, was sailing through the Mediterranean Sea with humanitarian aid for the Gaza Strip when it was intercepted some 185 kilometers from the Palestinian enclave by Israeli speedboats. The Zionist regime's navy raided the ship, ordering the crew to throw their mobile phones into the sea and abducting all on board. According to the Tel Aviv's foreign ministry, the crew is being taken to the Israeli port of Ashdod. They are expected to be deported to their respective countries. Members of the Freedom Fleet ship Madeleine are still kidnapped by the Israeli regime after the occupation forces besieged and assaulted them. Following the terrorist incursion, previously recorded crew members' videos were released, requesting the immediate involvement of their governments and parliaments.
My name is Greta Thunberg and I am from Sweden. If you see this video, we have been intercepted and kidnapped in international waters by the Israeli occupational forces or forces that support Israel. I urge all my friends, family and comrades to put pressure on the Swedish government to release me and the others as soon as possible.
The Palestinian resistance movement Hamas condemned the hijacking of the humanitarian flotilla bound for Gaza and held Israel responsible for the safety of the activists on board. In statements, the Palestinian group urged the United Nations and international organizations not only to condemn this kidnapping, but also to take action against Israel for its continued rights violations in Palestine. Hamas reaffirmed its support for these activists who have remained firm in their solidarity with the Palestinian cause, despite threats from the occupation. Hamas emphasized that these actions confirm that Gaza is not alone. The United Nations Special Rapporteur for the Occupied Territories, Francesca Albanese, urged the UK government to seek guarantees from the Israeli authorities for the crew of the Freedom Flotilla. The Madeleine ship sailed under the British flag, which is why the rapporteur is asking Keir Starmer's government to guarantee the release of the 12 crew members. She also calls for the flotilla to complete its mission, as Israel has no authority over Gaza. The crew members of the flotilla remain kidnapped by the Israeli government, and its defense minister Israel Katz said on Monday that they will all have to watch a video from October 7th, 2023. The Russian Defense Ministry reported that its air defense systems shot down 49 Ukrainian drones in the last 24 hours over 7 regions of the country. The action included areas far from the front lines, such as Nizhny Novgorod and the Republic of Shuvastia. In the latter, 2 drones struck an industrial plant without causing any casualties, but forced operations to be suspended. Due to the incidents, several airports temporarily suspended flights for safety reasons. In this regard, Russian authorities report a sustained increase in Ukrainian drone attacks against energy, industrial and military infrastructure in border areas and in the interior of the country. On Monday, the first group of Russian servicemen aged under 25 were freed in accordance with the agreements reached in Istanbul between the nation and Ukraine. The Russian Defense Ministry informed of the operation, stating that the servicemen were released from an area controlled by the regime and are currently in Belarus, where they are being given the necessary psychological and medical assistance prior to their return to Russia. In addition, the authority unveiled had transferred a similar number of Ukrainian prisoners of war. Moscow and Kyiv agreed on a larger exchange of prisoners during the second round of negotiations held in Istanbul, Turkey on June 2nd. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.